Hello.
Hello, everyone. This is the AI Pressure Cooker Live. And today we have a special guest to talk about a controversial topic, in my opinion, which is very timely. And just allow me to say a few words to put into context what we are going to discuss. Today, I chose to talk about software world because AI is not only changing how software is built, but more importantly, it is changing how developers think about their own value, which inevitably changes what they trust, what they question, and more importantly, what they reject. At the same time, we see a lot of push and expectations from companies to communicate responsibly about AI, even especially when they serve the people who feel threatened or exposed from what is happening. And I'm super happy that today I have a special guest, Ilya Petrov, who is the head of marketing at JetBrains, serving one of the most demanding audiences in tech and winning their trust, which is the developers. So, welcome, Ilya.
Hello. Good evening. Nice to be here.
I hope you're doing fine, and I hope you are ready for to turn a little bit the heat and the pressure to talk about this topic that potentially resonate not only with our developers in the audience today, but anyone who works in design, product marketing, sales. The list goes on and on, because what we keep hearing everywhere, at least in my social channels, are that developers are obsolete. So I wanted to kick off the discussion and ask you, what actually made you think lately that actually developers are not going anywhere? So let's start on the positive side.
Yes, it's a great question, but it's a tricky one. So I think that if we want to unpack it a bit, so what is not going anywhere is software development. So the software is actually it's an amazing thing. So it's like a bloodstream system of our world. So everything is run by software today, and we will need software. It's almost like a set of rules that connects our intentions with the physical world. So bank system, whatever we take, health system, everything is run by software. How the software is created is evolving now with AI, but there will be still someone who is actually creating it. In a bigger sense, that's a developer. The role of developer and how this development look like may evolve. But I strongly believe that at least for foreseeable future, uh, since the development is needed, the developer will be there as well.
That's good to hear, and I hope that the audience and the people who are connected to the live could relate to this broader sense in terms of opportunities and the need of actually somebody to make sure that what is built is the right thing, with a certain responsibility, compliance, and all the layers of accountability that at the end make us rely on all those systems that you mentioned, in banking, healthcare, in full of our life, really. And I'm actually also wondering if we are to oppose a little bit this hopeful picture, with everything that is going on with such a rapid pace. Do you think that to some extent some of the larger companies in this space are actually making misleading promises towards the developer community? And where is this mislead coming from? Where is the danger really?
Um, yeah, so I think that the first way where at least the first wave of messages was misleading for me is that they were not targeting the developers. So the message like we will not need the developers in 5 years is probably addressed to corporations, to business owners, to someone who are looking to optimize the budgets or build a strategy, not to the people who actually develop. But with this, I think that the two main issues with the promises that we hear, one is about productivity. So once we are talking about, hey, AI will make you 10 times more productive, that's actually a false claim. And this, the more we unpack it, the more we study it, we see that the productivity is mostly happening on the output side. So yes, you get more code, but with more code, you get more bugs, you get more other stuff. And the outcome, it was never measured by the output success. It's not about how much code you have, it's about how it works. And that's where, to the previous question, that's where the responsibility sits with a developer who is actually looking at this, making a decision about what should go in and what shouldn't. And responsibility, while code generation becoming cheap, responsibility is what is expensive. And this is, I believe, maybe the last role that will still remain with humans and with developers in specific.
When you say what is expensive, what are you thinking here? What comes to mind as the new constrained space that becomes all of a sudden instantly valuable?
Yeah, I think there are two directions to think about this. One is obvious, so it's just the cost of mistake. So with, for example, if you take a software with AI-generated code, you have a layer of imperfection after another, and maybe each layer makes sense, but then when you have like a kilometer of those layers, the probability of something going wrong is much higher. And since software is running in a lot of important areas that either deal with personal data or even with our like finances or our lives, the danger is real and it's measurable. So the risk of mistake is really high. But on the other hand, when I'm talking about being expensive, it's expensive in terms of maybe resources. So it's where the new bottleneck is. So writing code, while it was never a bottleneck, but it's, yes, sometimes I see the outcome, I see how it should be, but then I still need to type it in. But now you don't need to type. It's so fast that you just get all this code, but then you still need to look into the code, and it just takes time to read it, to process, to understand, especially something that is not yours. It's almost like a very different cognitive load. It's a very different process of writing something that self-correct, and then just getting these tons of unknown, not always logical input, and trying to figure out, what was the idea behind it, if any.
And when you talk to developers in this new space that you just described with the somehow foreign or alien logic to ours, what are some of the emotions that resurface? Are they angry, frustrated, scared, or something else is going on?
I think that actually most of the developers, they are very reasonable about this. So you almost simplifying a bit, but you have people who understand how it works and they're not scared. But then you have people who do not understand how this works and they are not scared as well. So just one sees this as an opportunity. Hey, okay, we can now do so many things without recognizing the downsides. As a other, they just treat it as a rational tool, one of the other tools that they have in the toolkit. And they are very pragmatic about this. Hey, what it will be faster just to try to convince AI on like what I really need, or maybe this edit I could just do myself, but then I would ask something else. It will help me to progress in another part.
I like when you say that there are two camps. One is not afraid of AI, and the other is also not afraid of AI, which is a paradox. But I think it really points out where the industry is at and what the community had actually built in terms of skills and capabilities for the last 15 years or so, since the software really became a mainstream. But I'm also wondering, in this new space, thinking now about the marketing head and the responsibility that you have at JetBrains, do you think about the trust aspect, and how do you protect trust with the developers differently? Because with what's going on with AI?
Yes, so trust is important for us for several reasons. First, we as a company that built by developers for developers. It's a very strange setup where we are a private company, so we are not dependent on VC funds or whatever, and we treat money as more as an investments into our products, and we build everything around our products and the value they delivers to the developers. In this case, trust for us is the foundation for this open dialogue that we could have, and the proof of our main claim that, hey, we are on your side because we as well one of you. But on the other side, I feel like with AI specifically, there are so many noise coming about this topic. But then the content generation cost as well going down. So we see more and more messaging, more and more marketing. And the one way for people to navigate it is basically going back to the Institute of Reputation. So it's not that much about is it AI content or not AI content, but it's about the brand or person. Hey, what is my experience with this person or this brand? Am I confident that this interaction will be valuable for me based on my previous experience? And that is something that is built over time, and that is very easy to lose. But once you lose this, you as well lose an attention, and then you are just dissolving in this sea of different content and messaging and interruptions.
And slop.
Yeah.
I know this word keeps popping up, but it's everywhere and it's kind of hard to avoid. But to your point of how important is reputation and trust, do you think that slowly you are actually, even though you were one of them, so to say, part of the developers, from developer to the developers, are you now seeing your role more being an ally as opposed to a vendor? Almost like in a equal level in terms of what you can win and what you can lose?
For us, clearly, yeah. And I know that for our users, maybe this may not look like this, but that's exactly how we think. And I truly believe that one way for us to create and carry this trust over time is actually be less marketeers. So less thinking about concepts and messaging that we need to wrap, but more stand together with the people and recognize the context and the tension that is happening. So whatever I'm saying about like emotions or whether development is going, the real answer is that no one knows. And this transition is painful and stressful for everyone who is in this process. So as a marketing mission for us, I see, for example, that we just should be there with them on this journey. So we need to help make sense of the transformation that is happening, equip them with the knowledge, but then the tools that helps to go through this transformation. and use our assets like access to big partners like OpenAI or Anthropic to actually make this more grounded into the as well reality and the really kind of deep understanding of what is AI, but what is behind the AI, what's the economics, what's the technical part of it, and how this may shift in the future.
It's not every day that I hear from a head of marketing that we shouldn't be doing marketing. So thank you for being honest and provocative in this conversation. On the serious side, I think that this point is specifically important because, as you highlighted, the audience is vulnerable, and we have to recognize that the margin of error has significantly shrunk. Therefore, you carry certain level of responsibility how to make sure that everything what you stand for, your values, belief, actually is reflected in communication. And to this point, I've been following your work for quite some time, and I would encourage actually the audience, whoever is connected and listening to us right now, to check it out, because you make a really unique connection between marketing and engineering, which initially really surprised me, and it made me want to know more of why you draw the parallel between marketing and engineering, and why do you think that this is so critical right now when you talk about spec marketing for many organizations to reorganize the way they work so that they establish this foundation. Can you explain your thoughts and how did you come up with this unusual combination, marketing and engineering?
Yeah, so first for me it's natural because I've spent half of my life being an engineer, and then I came across and felt in love with marketing, and now for 20 years I'm in marketing. But I'm still a hobby developer, and whatever is happening in my mind is usually like somewhere in between. And I'm following in general how trends evolve as a marketeer and as a strategist. And I'm always defining myself as being second to know, but first to understand and make sense for others. So I'm not a truly innovator, but I'm the one who is good at capturing these moments where innovation is happening and then translating for what it could mean for like different areas. And so in overall, I feel just lucky being among these developers in developer industry, because I feel like this is where the change is happening, where we could always and already see what it means in practice, and where other industries that are a bit behind for different reasons can learn a lot. As a marketeer, I of course apply it to the industry that is closest to my heart and to my daily job. And so maybe the one point that I see here is that developers, the one way they're solving for this AI-generated code is they are moving in their logic from software as writing code into software as writing specs. And specs is a thinking layer. So it's something that describes architecture, describes the logic, and describes expectations from how they're supposed to work. That is very easy to hand to AI agent to execute, but then validate against it. And if it's on spec, then it's probably working exactly as expected. With marketing, whatever we are thinking, I believe that the marketing thinking is almost like a magic. And a lot of people treat it as like, yeah, someone just smart come up with some idea, and that all happened somewhere in the head, and no one knows how. Of course, we have our frameworks. I hope we have our science, we have our research, but we're almost afraid of making this thinking visible. And that is what really needed, whether we talk about delegating the work, for example, to a junior copywriter to make sure that all these layers of context is traveling through this task, but then to AI. Because AI is great, very literal executor. So whatever you give it to AI, it will do exactly this. And so you need to be specific about how you see the outcome, what you want to achieve with it, but as well in a form where your assumptions are clear and that you can validate the outcome towards these assumptions, towards your brief or towards your spec that you're writing for it.
It's a really unique angle when we establish the parallel between marketing and engineering to start thinking about how this intent, to your point, and the context can travel through the organization, and you make it explicit. So I would imagine that it would be very easy in that scenario using specs marketing for the promise to be visible, the proof to be visible, also the consequences to be visible. And I wonder in that respect, how do you ensure that and I know you are responsible after a big team in marketing in JetBrains, how does it work that everyone actually is on the same page when you say we respect developers and we prioritize trust?
Yeah, it's clearly important for us to, while we are having more than 10 maybe products, almost targeting quite similar or the same audience, to make sure that we are standing as one and that we have one message, one approach to everyone. And of course, while I have ideal picture in my head, it's not always work like this, and we are still building, we are still learning how to operate in this world. But that's for me as well about just making things visible and making things operational. So making sure that you have it captured, and then whatever you have it captured, that it's actually integrated into the process. We are as well lucky. So we are a rare marketing team that sits in a development organization. And for example, all the developers, they're using a project management tools, and everything is a ticket in the system. And that already applied to marketing. So whatever we are doing, a campaign is a system. If you need a banner is a system. If you need a design, if you need a copy is a system. And it's already on a habit. So no one is arguing why it's needed. While I can imagine doing this just in a normal marketing organization somewhere. Let's say I'm coming from Nike and making Nike marketing people to write tickets for every task that they're doing sounds crazy and impossible. So we have this technical foundation that helps us to enable first this knowledge accumulation, but then it's a process that we could easily kind of track and integrate into. So we could say, hey, if this step is happening, let's make sure that this thing is attached, and that everything that we are doing is kind of validated against it.
It's really interesting because when I listen to you explaining how you apply specs marketing, it makes me think that this is almost like a response to risk as opposed to an empty framework, which many organizations would actually not even bother. But the minute you put a different function for it and attach different value, like in this case, ensuring the trust, therefore trust is secured and risk is reduced, it elevates the responsibility and also makes it much more integral to what you're doing and also connecting with other teams. So that's really unique in my opinion.
It's actually the real reason why I'm interested into the idea of making the marketing system visible, because I bluntly believe that there are not so much thinking happening around, and it's nothing.
What do you mean? Where? In marketing or in general? That we've got lazy with AI now.
No, it's not in marketing in general. It's more like in marketing teams in practice, and it's nothing to tell about like people. So people are amazing. It's just the marketing process is so unstructured in a way that let's say I am looking after the team of product marketing managers. So I think that 90% of the efforts is going into management. It's just actually like moving tasks, making sure that things are happening, fighting against the system, fighting with the system, or like going with the system. And then the real thinking, where they do not need to reinvent something, when they don't need to repeat something that someone thought already, is in a different product or in a different function. Let's say looking up for like what should be the size of the preview on a LinkedIn. How much time does it take, and why people still like doing this over and over again whenever they need to do this? So I think like those things, they're very distracting, but then as well living a zero headspace for something that marketing should be really doing, thinking and making decisions that move the needles, that make the impact. Mm-hmm. And for me, one of these ideas that if we could capture it, we could actually eliminate all this repetitive thinking that could be done once. Hey, let's just define this on the brand level. This will be here, and we will make sure that it's included every time. But then to point out that, hey, this is actually your job, and this is a job that makes a difference, depending on if you're doing it good or bad.
But I also, if I can build on what you're saying, I also think that there is another reason why companies or people that are actually listening to this should make a note and follow your work more on LinkedIn. And also, I know that you just started today a course, so I encourage everyone to check it out. Why is this important? Is that things that work on a normal pace actually break at scale, and what you are hinting towards, in my opinion, is kind of related to what happens when you scale and how to make sure that at scale things perform in the way that you want. Excuse me. And this doesn't come at the expense of trust or reputation.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. So it's a scale issue, and we are clearly one of the companies that experience all this struggles of scale, both scaling horizontally with a lot of products, similar but different audiences. So we have all the ingredients to for it to go wrong. And so I see the opportunity to at least try to make it right, and maybe make something interesting that will help others.
And when you say you have the opportunity to see if something is going wrong, have you spotted what actually weak thinking AI is amplifying, and in which areas, if we think about marketing and communication, where does it show up first?
So, yeah, I would maybe not talk about big things, but there is like one small thing that bothers me. And I wrote a post about this on Tuesday. That I'm in pizza. I like making pizzas, and in pizza there are two processes that happen with the dough while you're waiting for it to be ready. It's fermentation and maturation. So fermentation is the development. It's how the dough rises, and it's how the yeast is working. But while it's doing fermentation, there is another process. It's a maturation. It's a breaking up of complex ingredients into a smaller one, more digestible one. And this is responsible for taste. If you could just put a lot of yeast, and then your fermentation or like your dough will rise almost immediately, but there will be no time for maturation. And that's what is happening first with, I see some people who are like maybe developing fast, and they kind of learn things, but they're not mature enough. So they have not built this, they haven't processed the growth. And that's my idea. So building taste, building judgment takes time, because it's not just about learning things. You need to decompose it through experience, through pain, through failures. And so with AI, I see a lot of people who are tapping into the areas that are not their main expertise, where they can produce an outcome, but they don't have judgment, they don't have taste to evaluate this. And maybe the text is actually the easiest example. AI is great at generating texts, and whatever text we see, it looks like a text, it reads like a text, it's like words in the sentences. And I'm not even going into like, is it the right text? Is it solving what it was supposed to solve? But it's just this feeling of, is it a good text? Does it has a taste as a text? Is what I actually see missing. And so we are now like trying to build the processes where this judgment sits with someone who actually understands it. And so like everyone can generate, and we encourage use of AI for work. So my personal expectations for whatever I'm hiring people or my own team, that your outcome should be at least on AI level, but better. So if you're doing worse in AI, that's that shouldn't happen. So
It's a
use
no-go.
AI, but make it better. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to, at least for me, to spot the lack of flow because, as you point out, sometimes the words are there, but there is no connection. The story doesn't build, doesn't evolve. There is no purpose really, and it really stands out for me when the essence of the point is lacking. And I also wanted to ask you, is there, because at scale, we spoke about how easy it is to break trust, but are there any other implications that now you think that actually, wait a minute, in the organization, it's the marketing who has the responsibility to ensure that X works at scale? Beyond trust, is there anything else that kind of you see as an opportunity for marketing to claim?
Yes, probably. I don't know if it's like marketing specific or it's like for our organization, but I would say like in general, marketing function is very easy. We just exist to put some stories in people's head. And then what is this story, how we put it, to what people, is probably all the science behind it. But this story part is important. And I feel like being an ultimate storyteller is a company, it helps not just with external audience, but with internal audience. So when the product scales, there are so many opportunities to say, hey, what is the next feature that we need to develop? And if you don't have a story about your product, if you don't have something where it's, but what we are building, what promises that we are making, what statements, what positions we are taking, it's much harder to decide. And so being this internal story kind of maker, not always as a decision maker, but as a driving force, as a facilitator for everyone else to come together, just because we have the right frameworks, we have the right tools to think about this. That's quite an important role.
And I think, to your point, I almost see this responsibility of marketing not only to shift the behavior externally towards the users, but as you say, to make sure that it helps the organization internally to go through the hard transformation. Because at the beginning, we spoke about that transformation is happening whether we like it or not. And it's not just the developers, but it's with marketing, with design, with product management, all functions really. And marketing in that sense, with the power of storytelling and building this transformative narrative, I think it has a bigger role to play. At least I'd like to think so.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Do you have a transformative narrative that you're pushing at JetBrains at the moment that you can reveal publicly?
We have a narrative which is actually quite simple, and it's both internal narrative and external narrative. It comes with so we were talking about developers' emotions, and this actually applies not just developers, but maybe for every craft-related profession now. There are just two worries. One, am I using too little AI? Am I falling behind? Everyone else is talking about AI, building the agents, running OpenClaw on the whatever laptops. And the other is opposite. Am I using too much of AI? Is AI taking over me? Am I becoming dumb? Is my output is actually like improving, or I'm just becoming lazy as well and like losing, but in a very different sense. So it just those two: too little AI and too much AI. And if for our products, it's actually quite natural. So we're almost saying that for AI, we are now building an open ecosystem. So we, in general, our main product called Integrated Development Environment. So it's all about tools that you need working together. And the AI is just another tool that helps with your productivity in that sense. But then for us, we are not competing in a normal sense with this. We're just providing you all these tools, and you could use whatever industry best AI is today without as well like vendor lock-in, or without fixing you with just one model and one agent. For example, because they're developing, and today the one is the best one and tomorrow is another. But then as well, there is a depth to it, like different agents are actually different, perform differently for different tasks. So it's not like there is one best LLM. It's not like there is one best agent. So you need to have this choice. And that's for too little AI. So we almost create the environment for you to try and to experiment. It's in there, it's in your familiar environment. And for too much of AI, this is where we see our role of the company. So it's almost this development environments becomes your safety net. With development, it's quite easy, at least on a fundamental level, because it's come down to all this code intelligence, on semantic checks, on running tests, on debugging opportunities, on like refactoring opportunities. And the IDE is becoming a layer which is just the best place to work with AI code, because it first helps you to monitor and make sure that whatever error, mistakes, is it the syntaxes or on a more logical, deep architectural level, is visible to you. But then you have a lot of tools that specifically designed to work with this, understand code, navigate code, change code that is not yours on a scale of like million lines of like code. So that's about it. So too less AI, too much AI, and then open AI ecosystem with a safety net that makes sure that whatever AI did, you have overview of this and full control, and then the tools to make it decent, make it properly.
Nice. I like how you explain the two extremes, and how you are helping the organization navigate, as well as the your audience, the developers, navigate this very fragile space in a way. And I also wanted to ask you slightly harder question, in my opinion, because I've always wanted to know, is there something that knowing that marketing, it's pretty much connected with results and revenues, and you have to show the impact to the organization. But have you lately said no to something that, despite the fact that you think is going to generate the impact, is actually really bad in terms of protecting the trust and the reputation?
Actually, on such example, probably no. Just because as well, this developer to developer idea is almost coming from our developers and from product and business teams, and we almost put product before business. So we believe that the revenue is kind of function from the users and the values they get from your products. And so this is what we are targeting for. And then everyone still thinks kind of user first, and no one really pushing such decisions. But let's say from my experience in the last year, maybe one thing that where I would now consider if I should say no was actually one of our AI stories. So we AI came as a disruption to this market, and it was not sudden, but it was still quite fast and quite a big disruption, because you still need to react, you need to adjust your product strategy, and then as well we are working with a lot of big companies, and the changes that we are making, it's not that instant, so we still want to keep the trust of our existing users. And we explored different directions through the year, but because we were trying to ship fast while maybe still going in our own pace, I feel like we've made the right change throughout the year, but it was shipped by parts, and each part didn't make any sense for developers. So I was personally sitting on Reddit answering questions and talking with people about what we are shipping, explaining the bigger picture and like what should happen. But as well, I clearly felt like we made them frustrated. We made them questioning why they're doing this. Do they understand what needs to be done? Do they really understand this topic? Why they're going after it? Mm-hmm. And so this is probably the moment where we really kind of shaked a bit the community and tested the trust. I hope that we went through this year with still the positive outcome, but that's something that we could that could be done much better. And if not on the product side, then on the marketing side, of course, building more of like upfront storytelling and the education, because it's a difficult topic. It's not that everyone gets it. It's not just the AI and the chat and you could ask questions. There are so many other layers to this, especially your tool.
The complexity, as you point out, it's enormous. So there are many implications of what you're doing. And I wonder, would the spec marketing actually help you if you were to do it back then? Is that the answer?
Maybe in a way. So I think that in general, spec marketing is a method. So it's not like it's a new marketing theory or whatever. It's just the ways of doing things. And in summary, it's really about making marketing thinking visible. And while there are a lot of benefits from like how the tasks flows, how you could delegate it to AI or people, I feel like the biggest impact that I see is actually making the very first part of the spec, which I call intent spec, visible. So we are doing a what's new page, how we intend it to work. Not the big marketing stuff, like we want people to love our product and buy it, but how we intend this specific artifact to work. We want people to skim it. We want people to go deep. We want people to navigate from what they need to know. And I think that once you're writing this, once you're writing like, hey, this is a LinkedIn post, I want people to read it. I maybe want people to react on this. I want algorithms to pick up it. This is how it works. Already, it's something that you could validate your outcome towards this. And in a lot of cases, this will eliminate so much arguing, where you're just discussing the output. And marketing is always discussing outputs. We are looking at text and we're like, hey, I have this opinion, or maybe we could like rewrite this. But we are not comparing to anything. And then having this intention clearly captured, how do we expect people to interact with this, to react on this? Already, raises all the right questions, and you eliminate all these obvious mistakes from the content and from other things.
Oh, absolutely. And especially when identity is under pressure, like in this case with the developers, and trust is fragile, you actually do not have the luxury to be just persuasive. You have to show alignment, and you have to show commitment and accountability to protect the trust. And one way of doing it is indeed to bring the whole team and the organization on the same journey to make sure that this alignment is not artificial, but actually it's deeply embedded in the processes and how you work. So thanks, Ilya. This was a great discussion and a great conversation. Thank you for being a guest to the AI Pressure Cooker, and thanks for your honesty. I want to encourage everyone to follow Ilya on LinkedIn and also check his new course, which just launched today. I'm super excited to learn more about it, and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Yes, this was a super interesting discussion.